What's going on, gang, and welcome back to Scared of Normal. I'm Mike Murfitt, and today I'm joined by my beautiful co-host, Cheyenne Murfitt, and we're stoked you're here with us today for the last episode of Scared of Normal for the year of 2022. That's freaking crazy to say out loud. Like, I cannot believe that 2022 is over.
So wild, because this podcast started in 2022, and it didn't start the beginning of 2022, but it feels like we've been doing it for a really long time.
Yeah, it really does. So with that being said, we've decided the topic of today's episode is going to be reflection. And we feel like that's pretty appropriate because, you know, what do you do at the end of the year? Everybody likes to look back at all the things that they've done, their wins, their losses, some new things they started, some things maybe you wish you started. So I'd like to kick this episode off by saying thank you for being here. It means the world to us. We're going to get into that a little bit more at the end of this episode, but let's get into the importance of reflection.
Yeah, let's do it. I love this time of year, but I feel like I used to be one of those people that was like, oh my gosh, okay, new year, new me. I'm going to do all of the new things. That clock is going to start midnight and I'm going to be like a totally different person. And I no longer believe that because now I'm like 30 years old and I've done this a lot of times now. And there's no like magic sauce that happens when the new year rings in. But there are so many incredible things that we can do to make those changes and make those shifts and to reflect is a huge piece of that. So yeah, the importance of reflection. I feel like our first little point on this is that it just is so powerful to take time to just pause and reflect and think about where you're at in life and where you want to go, and to take that time to like celebrate the wins that you've had over the last year. I think sometimes that is so hard for us to do, to like stop and think about the things that we get to celebrate about ourselves or about our accomplishments. Yeah. And time just like keeps moving, right? So if we don't take the time to stop and reflect, then we do skip over that and we like can get ourselves into a not awesome mindset. But yeah, reflection is pretty rad. Yeah.
It's such an empowering thing, you know, because most of the times we shy away out of fear or just not wanting to take the time to sit down and like really process whether it was a win or a loss or just something that was kind of null, kind of in between. But it's so good to sit down and really take those things in. And, you know, we've talked about this before in previous episodes, but like really celebrating those wins and celebrating the losses, and reflection really helps you with that. If you don't go back or sit down and look back, you know, at what made something a success or a failure, or what caused you to start something new, or why you didn't start something new, then you'll never be able to replicate those results, right? And so being able to reflect really opens up the world and helps you really start to make sense of your days and kind of how you rationalize goals.
Yeah.
So
I think another really cool part about it is that it's almost like a clearing for yourself. It's like wiping the lens clear for yourself again. Because like I was saying, I feel like you get so stuck in the like everyday, you're in the grind, you're in the hustle, you're working on this and you're working on that. And if you don't take that time to just like stop, you just keep going. And so there's no like pause of like, okay, is this even working? Like, am I doing the right things that are going to set me in the right direction of like where I want to go or where I want to see myself? If I set goals for myself last year, like where am I at in those now? And is the things that I've been doing this last year supporting that, or is it not supporting that? And do I need to make a shift? Do I need to make a different decision about where I'm going or how I'm showing up or what that looks like for me? And so,
or even, you know, if those goals are still something that are applicable to the life you want to live, because the person you maybe thought you wanted to be a year ago or 2 years ago this time of year, you know, maybe that's not who you want to be anymore.
Yeah.
And I like how you said at the beginning of this that like, you know, there is no like secret sauce to, you know, January 1st. Like it is a fun, fresh start, but like at the end of the day, we got to keep the momentum rolling, because if we basically stop everything we're doing and start working on something new the first of the year, we essentially start rebuilding from ground zero. And I think we've been kind of taught that's kind of the mindset, like stop everything you've worked on, kind of start new in the first of the year. And it's like, well, not necessarily, but like take time to kind of, recalibrate, reflect, look around and say, okay, where am I going? What I done over the last year, is that serving me going forward? Really reflect on those moments and all the things that you're intaking and doing.
Yeah. And I think like it's important to note that there's no timeline on your goals or on what it is that you want to do. I think that sometimes we do kind of think in this like year-long span, and it's like, maybe I did start something at the beginning of last year that I haven't totally accomplished yet. It doesn't mean that it's never going to happen, or that I have to stop and start over, or I have to stop and try something different.
Yep.
It just means I have to take that time to pause and reflect and say, okay, this goal is going to take me longer than what I anticipated. And it can flow into the new year, even though there is that excitement and that fresh slate. But it's like, you don't have to stop everything you were doing and then start something new.
Start new goals, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that is a good point, like letting it carry over, because like in reality, like we often underestimate how much of an undertaking certain goals are, right? And that's like a really hard thing to like admit to ourselves. Like, oh shit, I thought I could accomplish this in an hour or a day or a year or 3, whatever it is. And you start getting into it and you start realizing that there are so many unforeseen hurdles that you didn't understand, and like life gets in the way and all those things. So I think, where reflection comes into that is being able to look back and understand like, hey, all these things deterred me from accomplishing something that I wanted to in the exact timeline that I rationalized it. However, that doesn't mean that it's impossible. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So I think, the best way to start incorporating reflection into your daily routine, or into your routine just at all, if you are not practicing reflecting on, things in life, the best way to start doing it is kind of just a check-in every day, right? End your day with a check-in, write it down, think it in your brain, just think about it, that works wonders. But if you're the kind of person who needs to write stuff down, I know that's how Cheyenne is. She has a million notebooks. I don't think you ever look back at any of them.
No, but there's power in it for me. I have to write things down if I'm going to remember them.
Yep. And I think it's either writing down like how you felt when you accomplished a goal, how you felt when you failed at accomplishing a goal, how you feel during the day, just your mood. Are you happy? Are you angry? Figuring out all of those things, because what you're starting to do is assemble a bunch of puzzle pieces, and you can start putting those together and understanding, okay, if I weed these certain things out of my life, I can start to accomplish more, right?
Yeah.
Or if I do more of this thing, I can be more effective, whatever that might be. But unless you're being conscious and reflecting on the things that help you do things good or make you do things poorly, then it's really hard to move forward.
Yeah. I think this kind of goes back to what you were saying about how reflection can be really empowering. And doing a daily reflection practice, I think, like anything, if we're doing it over and over and over again, we're going to get better at it. And maybe if if this is something that we do want to start incorporating into our days, then we start doing this every day, or we write it down, or we just have a check-in with, the person that is closest to us. But it's empowering because it allows us to get super clear on the kinds of things that are bringing joy into our life and that aren't bringing joy into our life. And I think that we can kind of think about reflection on like 2 playing fields. It's like, there's a lot going into our world that is maybe goal-oriented or work-oriented, or we're pursuing something in some kind of realm. But then there's also the part of us that has to like pursue happiness and pursue joy. And we can use reflection as a tool to see, okay, what is making me happy in my everyday? What are the things that like spark that joy for me? And what's not? And what can I let go of that is not serving me anymore, because it's not bringing that happiness into our life.
Yep. I think, the best person to look at that has done this kind of on a grand scale and is very verbal about it, and I think we've talked about it on previous episodes as well, but Rob Dyrdek. And if you're in the millennial generation, you're probably super aware of who Rob Dyrdek is. If you're not, he was a professional skateboarder. He had a TV show, 2 TV shows now, 3 actually, wow. That's crazy, on MTV. And over the last few years, he's come out and been very verbal about how he makes himself more effective. And one of these things is through reflection. And he says that he, like, for years wrote down all the things that he did throughout a day, how he felt at the end of the day, like really reflected on every piece of his life until he could start honing in on the things that did not bring joy to his life. Mm-hmm. And now his life is pretty like dialed in, and he's very efficient with his time, and he'll get down to like, I spend 15 minutes a day or every week getting my hair cut or whatever it is. Like, he has a slot for everything, and he's been so reflective onto what makes him happy, makes him live a joyful life. And I think it's so fascinating. So I urge you to go find one of those podcasts with Rob Dyrdek where he talks about that stuff, because it is so fascinating, just the way he kind of, dials into it and really kind of talks about or like extracts that information from his own brain. So I think that's super rad.
Yeah. And I think what's cool too is that, like, along with the empowering piece, it's like we have control over a lot of the things that we choose to do in our day.
Yep.
And oftentimes our brain can tell us that we don't, because we aren't practiced in like doing this reflection piece where we really are taking ownership over the things that we are choosing to do in our days. And I think that through this reflection, or through, if you were to go on like Rob Dyrdek's level and journal out everything that you were doing in a day and how that affected you and how you felt mentally as you were doing those tasks, like how powerful is that to like really be able to see like, oh my gosh, these are the things that make me happy, and these are the things that aren't, and this is how I want to live my life.
Yeah.
And I have control over that.
Yeah, that's huge. It's super big. Like, to be able to like, he talks about it too, where he controls all the things that he can control, and then he lets go of the things he can. I think reflection's a powerful tool for that as well, because you can, in the moment, it's really hard to look at those variables and say, okay, I can control all this and I can't control all of that. But in the moment, you're just trying to problem solve. So when you get through it and you can look back and you're like, okay, well, now I know that these variables are something that I couldn't have even solved for. So why was I worried about them? So being able to reflect on events like that, because when you encounter something like that again, then you can be like, well, I don't even need to put energy over there, because I can think about all the variables that I can solve, and you kind of start moving forward with this checklist of things of saying like, okay, well, I know that this will be beneficial and impactful for my life. It'll bring joy to me because I'm not wasting energy or, bringing my mood down by focusing on external factors that I can't control anyways. So,
yeah, totally.
So we've talked about, being able to check in on a daily basis, but let's go a little more broad than that in a monthly basis. And I kind of think of this like with Traction, we do a monthly inventory, right? And we go around and account for all the things that we have, and we can figure out, okay, are we low on coffee? Do we need new t-shirts? Do we need new Carter to go mugs? Whatever it is, right? We can do a quick inventory, and we can really correct course for what the next month is. Okay, we have too much of this coffee. Like, can we get moving on that? Whatever it might be. And so same thing with our lives, right? We can reflect and we can set that date. Maybe it is the last day of every month. We sit down and say, okay, how did this month go? Did it make me happy? Did I accomplish goals, or did I work on goals that I wanted to work on? If not, why not? Right? And start really figuring that stuff out. And that'll allow you to move into your next month, like rocketing into the next month, because you can say, okay, now here's the goal, right? I need to fix these things, or I need to focus here, or whatever it might be. Need to put less time in this basket. And I think that's huge. Yeah.
I think it allows you to see the gaps, right? And I feel like I just keep coming back to this because this is something that I'm feeling I'm feeling pumped up by this episode. I want to go reflect. But I keep coming back to this because it's like, it shows us the holes. It shows us where we're missing out on opportunity, or where we're missing out on, moving the needle forward in whatever it is that we want to move forward in. And when we don't take that time to reflect and pause, then months and months and months, or an entire year goes by, and you're like, oh man, I set this goal at the beginning of last year. I didn't accomplish it this year, and I didn't really make any moves towards it. And maybe I was doing the same thing the entire year, and I could have course corrected or made a small switch in the way that I was approaching something, or I could have let go of something so long ago that wasn't serving me, that I already knew it in my heart, right? But I like didn't actually say it out loud because I didn't take the time to reflect on it. Like life just moves fast, and it's like if we don't stop and we don't pause and take that time to really think about what it is that we're doing and what our purpose is, then it just continues to be the same. Yeah. And I don't know, that's not really what I want out of life.
This kind of tangent reminds me of, something I talk about a lot with business, right? Like as the owner of a business, you have to be somebody who is able to not only work in the business and fulfill day-to-day activities, especially when you are small and you're kind of just getting started, but you also have to be able to remove yourself from that and work on the business, the big picture, the higher level stuff. And it's the same thing in our lives. Mm-hmm. We have to be able to work day to day in our lives, and we have to be able to do the hard work. We have to go to work. We have to make money. We have to be able to eat, right? Mm-hmm. But we also have to pull back from that and work on our lives, right? And that's, I think, the hardest work to do. It's the same thing with the business, to like remove yourself from the trenches for a second and kind of look down, like that 100,000 foot view down onto your life and say, okay, like the guy working in it every day, he's probably not doing the best job because like you're faced with all the challenges and the hard stuff. So that's where I think reflection comes in, is you can kind of climb up that ladder and look down from, this higher perspective and say, okay, like I see all the things that I missed. So that's where like this monthly reflection comes in handy, or even a yearly reflection, being able to build these events into your life. Like you can remove yourself from the work, because we all know like to live, we have to work. Yeah. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Like that has to happen. We don't have to think about our life externally from there. We don't have to work on our life. And I think that's where, you hear the stories of people getting towards the end of their lives and they're so bummed out because they were so busy working and their whole goal was to, bring home that paycheck to take care of themselves or their families or whatever it is. Meanwhile, they're not taking the time to work on what was their goal. You hear stories all the time of people saying, I wish I would have traveled more. I wish I would have done this. I wish I spent more time over here. And if you're not taking the time to reflect, you can't course correct to go do those things. So, whether it's accomplishing a goal that's, a big dream of yours, or like I said, spending more time with your family or traveling to that beach that you've seen on a postcard, like you gotta, reflect. You gotta get that 100,000 foot view, pull yourself back and figure out what it's going to take to get there. Yeah. I'm not saying don't stop doing the work, because obviously you got to do the work to get there as well, but it's a balance, and that's a hard thing. Balance is difficult.
Mm-hmm. I think too, like it, like taking these moments, or even just like knowing that these moments are going to be ingrained in your daily, your monthly, your weekly, like routines. It's like, I don't know, it's just so exciting to me to think of like, oh my gosh, I can sit down and I can like think about the things that are working for me and the things that aren't working for me. And then I can make my life better. Like
totally.
And it's not difficult. It's just me sitting down and being really honest with myself about how I'm spending my time, how I'm spending my energy, where I'm spending it, what are the things that I want out of life, and making those moves in the right direction. And then it's like, wow, like that's just such a bright light to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, it is such like a warm thing, because like I said, it's very easy to get stuck in the monotony of the day to day. The first thing that comes to my head is that scene from The Shining where it's like, all work, no play, make Jack a dull boy. And that's kind of the same thing. It's like if you're in the trenches and you're working all the time and you're not pulling yourself up out of there, you're going to get burnt out and things are going to become very bland and mundane to you. So, take some time to reflect. Maybe start off with a weekly reflection. Maybe you don't have to do it every day, kind of just build that into your routine in some capacity, because it's going to benefit your life. Yeah. Maybe it's, you want it to benefit your life in a monetary way or in a time way. There's so many different ways that this idea of reflection can benefit your life. It's pretty bizarre. Yeah. And I think about like in my personal life over the last, I guess probably 2 years now, because I've always kind of been the person where I'm going to like work myself to death just to get the job done. If the work is there, I'm going to do it and I'm not going to stop until it's done. And that's sometimes is a blessing, but it's also something that like it can burn you out, you know? And so over the last 2 years, I've had to kind of give myself that time to reflect and say, okay, like I can remove myself from this. And if once I do, you know, I think of it like even the last few days, Cheyenne and I have been working on a puzzle, and I kind of think of it the same kind of way. You know, I'm all about the analogies, but like we'd be working on this puzzle and we'd be sitting there for, you know, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And you'd get like 1 or 2 pieces and you'd just be staring at all these pieces and you can't figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, you get up for 5 or 10 minutes and you come sit back down and then you knock out like 20 pieces, you know? And so again, it's learning how to be able to take breaks and reflect and like give your brain a break, give your body a break, and then come back to it. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to be rejuvenated. You're going to be more powerful. You're going to be more sharp. Like all the pieces are going to come together, right? As opposed to if you're just sitting there doing the work nonstop, well, all of those things start to fade and then you're just going to be burnt out. So reflect.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I watched a thing the other day that was showing basically like a graph that was detailing like people, like the span of time that they work in an 8-hour day and how ineffective they are past that first hour. In fact, past like the first 30 minutes. And the guy was explaining, and this is kind of similar to reflecting. He was saying like, you know, every 30 minutes, if you get up, take a 5-minute break, do something fun, get the creative juices flowing, go get a drink of water, you know, take a lap around your house, go outside, do something to take your mind off, you know, the project at hand, or if you're studying or if you're training, whatever it is, and then come back to it. Same thing. You're having some time to reflect. You're letting your brain rest from solving the problem that's at hand.
It's like micro reflection,
Yeah,
like
truly.
At a rapid rate. And yeah, I feel like that kind of ties all of it together, because it's what you were saying with like us doing a puzzle and like having to step away. It just widens that view again, and it like allows you to see clearer, because when you are like in the trenches and you're right there, your face, like you're right up in there. Your vision isn't very clear. So that's really cool.
So use this as a sign. This is your moment. Pause this episode, do some reflection, take a 5-minute break, and then come back.
Yes.
All right. Are you back now? We're going to do some reflecting.
Yes, we are.
So while you're here, you know, we'd like to take a few minutes to reflect on the last year with Traction. It has been absolutely wild.
Such a good year.
Like it gives me the chills right now thinking about what's happened over the last year. Like Traction turned 4 in 2022. Which is also completely bizarre.
4 years old.
Yeah, that's a lot of years.
That's a lot of years. I think about that in like human form.
Yeah.
What if you had a 4-year-old?
Yeah, we're almost half a decade old. That's
wild.
Freaking crazy.
Yes.
So I first and foremost just want to say thank you all so much for being a part of the Traction family. Regardless of if you've ever bought coffee or any products from us, if you're here right now, you're part of the family. We seriously appreciate you. And this wouldn't be possible without you. This business or this brand or whatever this is, I don't really know, you know, but it has grown significantly over the last year. And like, I really feel like the last year is this like solidifying factor to say like, it's Traction for life now. Like it always has been, but now it's feeling so real. Yeah. And this wouldn't be possible without people that are part of the Traction family. Whoa, that was weird. If you're watching this, one of our studio lights just like went super
lit up,
bright. Whatever, we'll let it roll. But yeah, growth has happened in several areas with the company, and you know, taking some time to reflect over the last week or two, it's kind of crazy to think like we really started a business in one of the most difficult climates to start a business in. We started this in 2018. We were just getting our feet wet in the first year, and then COVID happened. And I remember that so vividly, just being like, well, like there's our dream. It's up in flames. Like, cause we didn't know, you know, like what was going to happen. And, the Traction family like came together and just like supported us through that. And that was just like, that's still to me is just mind blowing to know that like, not only did we survive through that, but we grew exponentially through that. And like, you know, there was so much fear for me thinking like, okay, like COVID's winding down, like all of that, like momentum or inertia is going to slow down with us too. And it hasn't. We've continued to grow. And like I've said a million times in all of these episodes, like that is due 100% because we are surrounded by the most incredible people. So yeah, pat your guys' selves on the back because this wouldn't be possible without you.
It's a true testament to the community.
It really is.
You have fostered and built and grown here with Traction, and it is something that is so special, and it doesn't happen on its own. So
yeah, and it truly is a community. You know, I think back to some of the events we've had or some of the messages we receive, and it's like it's the reason that we continue to show up when it gets hard, when there are the bad days, because there's a lot of them. You know, it's a business and it's real and it's rough. And when there are really hard days, when things are breaking or, you know, coffee's missing from our shipment that should have been here 2 weeks ago or whatever it is, when we're problem solving and we're in those trenches, you know, and we get a message and, you know, somebody's stoked or we get a phone call or whatever it is, you know, we see somebody in an event and we're slapping fives and smiling and sharing beers. Like that's what makes it all worth it. Yeah. So that's so freaking cool. You know, and I think about the opportunity that we've had over the last 4 years, and especially the last 2 years, to source such incredible coffees. You know, I've talked about it before on previous episodes, but if you don't know, I ran a previous coffee company called Hotbox Roasters, and we were inside of Oscar Blues, and I ran that company for 3.5 years. And it was super fun, but, you know, we didn't really have the freedom to source insane coffees like this. And maybe we had the freedom, we just didn't have the knowledge, you know, and we didn't know how to sell those coffees and get people excited and take them through a coffee journey to get them excited about those coffees. And over the last couple of years, we have sourced some insane coffees. And I feel so fortunate that we're able to not only acquire those coffees, but share them with people, you know, and the first coffee that comes to my brain right now, like my favorite coffee that we've ever had, hands down. In fact, probably my favorite coffee that I've ever had is our Colombia Puerto Alegre.
So good.
It's so good. And we first got that coffee in 2021. You know, our importer was like, we talked to the farmer down in Colombia, and the farmer told us how excited he was about this coffee. And our importer was able to get a bag for us. And it was an experimental lot, so there wasn't a ton of it. Well, flash forward to 2022, they produced way more of it, and we were able to nearly acquire that whole entire lot. And we're down to our last, like, I don't even want to say it out loud, like 80 pounds of it. And I'm so sad because, like, we've got another like 3 or 4 months until that lot hopefully produces or they harvest again. So yeah, holding out. But that's one of those moments where it's like, you know, I think back to myself at Hotbox, and I don't think that like we would have even known what to do with a coffee like that. And now it's like, that's one of our best selling coffees. And then it's like, it's such a good coffee, you know, and it's so cool to be able to share that. So
what a beautiful story though, too, of like the impact, right? Like it's not just that we're serving good coffee or coffees that we like, but it's like backtracking all the way to like the farmer that was excited about these specific coffee beans. Yeah. And the importer being willing to listen to that and translate that to us and let us know like, hey, they're really pumped on this specific coffee. And then the journey of like waiting to be able to get these beans and then getting them all the way here. And
the cool thing,
it's just so cool.
I love that you bring that up with the importer too, because like, you know, we found this coffee because our importer's kind enough to, you know, set us up directly with these farmers. So we get to interact with them and see what they're excited about. Well, our importer, Brian, was just in town 2 weeks ago now, and we went out to lunch with him, and it was so much fun. And he was telling us about Puerto Alegre, this farm. And he was like, dude, they're coming out with some coffees that will be harvesting next year. You know, they're experimenting right now, and they are insane. In fact, like he told us one of them is washed with blackberry juice. Like that just,
so exciting.
I think about the current Puerto Alegre that we have. That's this anaerobic natural process that is just like, it tastes like freaking fruit juice, like pineapple juice. It's crazy. But this new coffee he was saying is just like another level stepped up on top of that. And like being able to directly interact with these farmers and see what they're excited about, and then having a group of importers that is excited to bring that in, and it just makes the whole thing that much more cohesive and exciting. So,
and at the end of the day, it goes back to what you just said about the community. It's about the people that we get to interact with here at Traction. It's about the people that we get to bring into our lives and the difference and the impact that we get to make on both sides
certainly
of that relationship. And so it's just another way of looking at it.
Yeah. So talking about some of these incredible coffees that we're fortunate enough to acquire and get to share with you guys, some of that money is going to some really freaking cool places. And, before we've even paid ourselves, we have donated money to so many organizations across the country. And that's such a good feeling, and not only have we donated money, but we've also donated time. We donate a lot of time with Candid over the years. This year in particular, we've done tons of bike builds with them. And yeah, just like, we've donated money to organizations that help athletes when they get hurt, or money to organizations that, build trails regionally throughout the country. So many different things. We've went and bought toys and taken them to children's hospitals. Like that's what's so cool to me, is like being able to see, that money go to work in places where it's truly helping a community, and not just the community that we're in here in Longmont, but, far beyond where we're at.
Yeah.
That's a special feeling.
For sure. And I love that you share that, because I guess if you're listening and you didn't know that, like, now you know that when you purchase coffee with us, it's not just going, in somebody's pocket. It's not even in our pockets yet.
Yeah.
It's going to good people, to people that we want to help, to local communities, before it's going anywhere else. And so, we feel very fortunate to be able to support, different organizations in that way, and like, we feel like that's an important aspect of what this business is as well. It's, we've said it from the beginning, but it's building community through collaboration. And we're able to collaborate with these amazing organizations by, donating a portion of the profits from the coffee sold to, help create positive change. So, and I think that's something, as we move into the next year, that we kind of want to lean into a little bit more, is, the positive messaging and helping people really get after what they believe in, and like, I hope that we can help others continue to seek out their dreams and help accomplish through what we can bring to the table. So, and, I want to talk a little bit too about some of the events we've been able to throw, especially, we've done them since the beginning, but last year we really leaned into it hard, and seeing the community that surrounds Traction, that is Traction, come out in force. And, the first big event that we threw in 2022 was with our friends over at 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝙍𝙈. If you haven't listened to the episode before this one with our buddy Adam Roy, he's the founder of 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝘍. We threw an event with them at Boulder Skate Park. Well, that was probably June. Yeah, it was
June-ish,
over the summer.
Sometime this summer. And every time before, like, we do an event, like, we're driving to it and I'm stressed. I'm like, nobody's going to show up. This is going to be a flop. I'm so stressed out. And we showed up, and there was probably over 200 people there. It was crazy. It was so much freaking fun, and it was one of those things where it's like, there was people that didn't even ride BMX at this event. People just coming out to, like, drink a beer, drink a coffee, and just, like, watch and hang out and be a part of the energy there.
Yeah, that was the coolest thing for me in that event, and honestly in any event that I've come to that Traction throws, is that there are people there that aren't bike related, because a lot of the events that we do are bike related, and we love that community. We love that so much. So it's cool to see people out there that don't ride bikes, because I don't ride bikes, but I'm there and I'm excited and I'm stoked. And so it's fun to have conversations and meet new people and just see people out there. It's just good energy that brings everybody together.
Well, I think that's like a good point too, because, like, we are certainly grounded in bikes, BMX, mountain biking, cycling, like those are our roots, and we'll forever love those things. But we want to build an inclusive community where everybody feels comfortable. And it is so cool seeing these different types of personalities and people at these events, and everybody's getting along. And, it is true family. And that's why I always go back to saying it's the Traction family. And that's like such a cool feeling. So yeah, that Burn Slow event, we did one with Fast and Loose, same thing, just tons of people. The energy was at an all-time high. And then we started hosting weekly jams at Valmont Bike Park here in Boulder, Colorado. And I want to give a big shout out to Oscar Blues Brewery because they really helped support that this year. They made sure that everybody had a fresh, cold Dale's Pale Ale in their hand. And they're going to continue supporting that into the next year. So we're excited to bring that back come spring. There's so many fun things. And I think going into 2023 as well, like really starting to do a lot more events locally and on a broad scale. In fact, we were just down in Austin, Texas. We were supposed to be doing a BMX event down there, but unfortunately it's been raining down there nonstop. So it was supposed to be a dirt jump event and, everything was wet, but we're planning on doing some more regional events throughout the country in 2023. So we hope to see you guys there. We hope to hang out with you. That'd be super fun.
Yes.
I think the first thing that we're going to be at in 2023, and I don't know if it's for certain yet, but I'm about 99% sure we're going to be down at Swamp Fest in Florida. So if you're there, come say what's up. It should be a good old time. And so much fun stuff to look forward to. Me and Cheyenne have been talking a lot about like pop-up cafes. So those will probably be in the Boulder County area. So keep an eye out for some pop-up like pour over bars. We're really excited to start getting out and doing some more events, now that the world has basically opened back up and we're able to like, I really struggle doing stuff online. I love being in person and the energy is just different. There's something special about getting to hang out with everybody in person. So keep an eye out for 2023. We're going to be partying, guys. Can't wait for that. And I think another really big thing that I'd like to talk about before we wrap this episode up is this podcast, the one you're listening to right now. That was a product of 2022.
Yeah.
This is something that, we wanted to start since nearly the beginning of Traction. And, it's one of those reflection things, again, going back to the title of this episode. We looked, so far down the road, we kept punting this project. In the beginning of 2022, we were like, okay, like podcast has to happen. And I remember the moment that I like bought all the gear, and I would like kind of went crazy with it because I was like, if we buy expensive gear, then we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Because like I know for myself, I'm really bad about like returning stuff or like reselling it. So I'm like, if we have it, it's got to happen. Because like, we don't have money like that. We work hard for the money that we've got. So like being able to put it into something like this project and dedicate a room to it, that takes a lot of effort. And so the first episode we published was April 15th, 2022, which is insane to think that like it was just that, what is that, 6 months or I don't even know, 8 months ago?
Yeah.
That's crazy. And we're now, today's episode will be episode number 34, which is pretty insane, Like, I don't know, it's pretty crazy. And with that being said, like, thanks to you guys again, like this podcast is now in the top 20% overall of podcasts. And what that means is, thanks to you guys listening and sharing, this podcast numbers wise is in that top 20 percentile. So we hope to continue to grow with that, maybe get into the top 15, the top 10, the top 5%. I don't know, that we would love to be there. We love doing this. And the amount of really cool guests that we've had on just in the first year is like mind blowing to me. Like I feel so fortunate for those guests. And going into 2023, we're starting it off with a huge bang. We've got an episode right away with Aaron Ross. That'll be the next episode after this. If you're not familiar with who he is, he's an icon in BMX, like so rad. Just look him up, Aaron Ross. Chill Bro, that's one of his best video parts. He's the man. Following that episode, we have an episode with Chase Hawk, who is another icon in BMX, truly one of the greatest of all time. And it's so cool being able to have incredible humans like that on this show. So I'm excited. We have a few more pending people that are coming to the show next year. Some people who are pretty big time, who have never done a podcast. Very excited. Very excited. Like I can't even, begin to explain how excited I am to get those people on the podcast.
It's going to be a good year.
Oh, it's going to be so good.
Mm-hmm.
And then last but not least, like I'm excited because in 2022, we were fortunate enough to put out a canned product.
Yeah.
The 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝙍𝙬 cans.
So
and
good.
How many different ones did we do? So we did Stable, we did Summer Blend, we did Ethiopia, and we did Colombia. So 4. Did we do any more than that?
I think we only did 4 different.
So yeah, 4 different 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝙍 cans in the first year was such an exciting feat. Since the beginning of Traction, going back to that Hotbox conversation, like at Hotbox, we produced and sold nationally 12-ounce cans of nitro cold brew. So when we started Traction, that was something that we've always wanted to do. And we've had our eye on that since the beginning. And we finally found a partner that was able to help us make that happen. And probably August, September, we launched those first cans. Going into next year, we've got some really exciting stuff to talk about with 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝙍. We will be putting out an oat milk version of our Stable Blend 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝘍.
I literally cannot wait to taste that one.
It's going to be basically a latte in a can.
Oh, and it's made with Oatly.
Yep, Oatly
which
oat
is
milk.
one of my favorite oat milks.
Yep.
It's so incredible. You probably, if you order oat milk at any cafe, it's probably Oatly. I'm pumped for that one.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a game changer.
So that's coming. We've got some really dope single origin variants coming again. We're talking about a barrel-aged 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝑍. So lots of really cool stuff coming on that front. We did talk a little bit about that new blackberry washed Puerto Alegre Colombian coffee. We've got some really exciting coffees sitting out there on deck right now. A couple Guatemalan coffees that are freaking mind-blowing. I'm excited to roll those out to you guys in 2023. And, we've got some insane collaborations on deck as well. I think in 2022, we unfortunately let the ball or dropped the ball a little bit with collaborations, but we're really excited to really get back on it in the new year. And we also have some internal collections that we're working on. One of them is a summer collection that we're pretty excited about. That's all I'm going to say for now. And with all that being said, we need a bigger roaster.
Yeah.
We're super undergunned when it comes to our roasting equipment. So some of you may know when we first started Traction, we bought a SF6, which is a San Franciscan roasting machine that can roast, they say 6 pounds at a time, but essentially that yields about 5 pounds every roast. So we can do about 20 pounds an hour. This year alone, we've done well over 3,000 roasts now on that machine. So going into the new year, we're so excited because we're going to be like figuring out how to put a bigger roaster in the building we're at now. We might even be moving. We don't know.
There's a lot up in the air, but it's all a very exciting thing.
Very exciting. Yeah. But we do have a bigger roaster coming. So we're excited about that. We're going to be able to roast so much more coffee. We're going to have more time to do the other things. Again, it's that reflection thing. We're looking at how we can be a lot more fast moving in our business and how we can grow to continue to get more dope coffees, do more collaborations, and do more fun things with you guys. So yeah, that's a little bit of a reflection on what's going on here with Traction. And as always, if you guys have any questions or ideas or anything that you think would be cool, we're always here to talk about it. Shoot us a message on Instagram. We have a phone number on our website. You can call that number. You can text that number. And we're always here to just chat and hang out. We always love hearing from you guys. So yeah, before we sign off from today's episode, I do want to say thank you to each and every one of you again for being here and part of the Traction family. This community is seriously the most incredible thing I've ever been fortunate enough to be a part of. And the opportunity to create this utopia with all of you is truly life-giving. We're excited to continue to gain traction into 2023 and continue to do dope shit with all of you. Seriously, I cannot freaking wait. 2023 is going to be a sick year. With that being said, whatever goals you may have going into the new year and beyond, get after it. You owe it to yourself to see what is possible. Follow your heart, do hard things, and make those dreams come true. Yeah, I think that's about all I've got. Before we wrap today's episode up, I want to tell Cheyenne thank you for jumping in on some of these episodes. It's been super fun to
course.
do them with you. Yeah, this podcast has been such a fun project. I'm so excited that it's being enjoyed. And if you're still here, it may mean a great deal to us that if you are enjoying these podcasts, if you're doing it on YouTube, please like these videos and subscribe to the channel. And if you're listening on Apple, Amazon, or Spotify, leave us a review or a 5-star rating. It really helps us continue to do this and reach new people who may be interested in this content. So yeah, as always, thank you for being part of the Traction family. We love you all so much, and get out there and make it happen. We'll see you in 2023. We're out.
Cheers.